Hello and welcome to another Lincoln property blog, brought to you by Ben from Walters of Lincoln. Today we look at which parts of Lincoln move most often, how long is the average gap between sales, and what does that reveal about the city's hidden two-speed property market. The Lincoln property market can often feel far more active than it really is. Every week new for sale boards appear outside people's homes on your street. You tell yourself, they have only been in that house for a few years. So of course, you go on to Rightmove or Zoopla to have a nosy at the pictures and check the price out. A few weeks/months later, the sold sticker goes on the board and you get new neighbours on your street. Yet beneath that visible activity sits a much larger number of homes, many of which may not have changed hands for many years, even decades. Therefore, I thought it would be interesting to analyse this two-speed property market. The first thing to do is to look at the local homes that have sold at least twice between 1995, when records began, and 2026, how long the average gap was between those recorded sales and how the latest sold prices of those properties compare with the estimated value of the wider housing stock. Across Lincoln, there are 125,355 homes, and of those 36,252 have recorded at least two sales in the last 30 years. That represents 28.9% of Lincoln's entire housing stock that has changed hands at least twice during the past 30 years. That figure is interesting when compared to the national average of 25.5%, because it shows that much of the activity seen in the local property market is being generated by a smaller proportion of the total housing stock. Some homes return to the market several times over a generation. Others may be sold once and then remain with the same owner for decades. Many may not have appeared on the open market at all during the period covered by the analysis. Among the 36,252 properties that sold at least twice, the average gap between recorded house sales was 2,029 days, equivalent to approximately 5.6 years. It is important to explain precisely what this figure means. It does not show how long every current homeowner in Lincoln has lived in their property, nor does it represent the average length of ownership across every home in the town. Instead, it measures the average period between recorded sales for properties that sold and moved at least twice between 1995 and 2026. That distinction matters. A home sold once during the period would not be included in the calculation. Neither would a property that remained with the same owner throughout the entire 31 years. The figure therefore provides an indication of repeat sale activity and property turnover, rather than a complete picture of how long all local homeowners remain in place. Nevertheless, it gives us a valuable insight into how frequently a particular section of the Lincoln housing stock returns to the market. So, why do some Lincoln homes change hands more frequently? Not every type of property plays the same role within the housing market. Smaller flats, terraces, and lower-priced semi-detached homes are often purchased by people at an earlier stage of their home ownership journey. These homes may suit their owners perfectly for several years, but circumstances can change. Relationships develop, families grow, incomes rise, and the need for extra bedrooms, larger gardens, or more parking can encourage another move. As a result, properties at the more affordable end of the market may be more likely to return to the market within a shorter period. Larger detached homes, bungalows, and established family houses may follow a different pattern. They are often purchased later in life, when buyers have a clearer idea of their long-term requirements. Once someone has found the space, location, and type of property that suits them, the need to move again may reduce considerably. This does not mean every smaller home is a stepping stone or every larger home is retained for decades. However, across a large enough number of transactions, the mixture of property types within a postcode can influence how frequently homes appear to change hands. Are repeat sale Lincoln homes more affordable? The properties included in the repeat sale analysis had an average latest recorded sold price of £236,742. By comparison, the estimated average value of all homes across Lincoln is £253,672. At first glance, this may suggest that the homes changing hands more frequently tend to sit towards the lower end of the local market. However, the two figures need to be treated with care. The latest recorded sale of one property may have taken place several years ago, while the average property value reflects an estimate of what homes are worth today. Therefore, the gap cannot be attributed entirely to property type, size, or buyer behaviour. Some of the difference may simply reflect when the last recorded sale took place. Even so, when the same pattern appears across several postcode districts, it may provide a useful indication that certain types of property circulate through the market more regularly than others. So, how do the figures differ across Lincoln? The overall city figure hides important differences between the individual postcode districts. LN1. 28.1% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.5 years. LN2. 30.5% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.3 years. LN3. 30.1% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.7 years. LN4, 28.8% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.5 years. LN5, 29.8% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.5 years. LN6, 27.8% of households have sold twice or more since 1995, with the average residency being 5.7 years. Now onto the Lincoln homes that have barely moved at all. Perhaps the most intriguing part of this analysis is not the homes that have changed hands repeatedly. It is the enormous number that have hardly moved at all. Of Lincoln's 125,355 homes, 26,928 have recorded just one sale since 1995, while a further 62,175 have no recorded sale whatsoever during that entire period. In other words, a substantial part of Lincoln's housing stock has either changed hands only once in more than 3 decades or has not appeared in land registry sales records at all. Of course, that final group needs further investigation. Approximately 1/3 will be council or housing association properties. However, that still potentially leaves thousands of privately owned Lincoln homes whose owners may have remained in place since before land registry records began in 1995. Think about that for a moment. Behind some of those front doors could be many Lincoln homeowners who bought during the 1970s, 1980s, or early 1990s and have never moved since. They may have watched their street change, families grow up, neighbours come and go, and property values rise dramatically, all without their own home returning to the market. It also raises a fascinating question. Exactly how much of Lincoln is genuinely long-term home ownership, and how much is accounted for by council and housing association stock? That deserves more than a passing paragraph. Therefore, in a future article over the coming weeks, I will dig deeper into the Lincoln homes that have never recorded a sale since 1995, separate the social housing from the privately owned homes, and explore just how many local households may have been living behind the same front door for more than 30 years. Because sometimes the most interesting story in the property market is not how often people move. It is how many never move at all.